Hello there and welcome back to another review. Today we're going to be having a look at Sammo Hung's masterpiece, classic kung fu, that is Warriors 2. Following on, keeping with that Sammo vibe, and some of you, I talked about Warriors 2 a lot in my Iron Fisted Monk review, so I thought while I'm on getting through these films, I might as well look at Warriors 2 as well. I mean, I should have reviewed it a lot sooner than what I have, which I have here with Prodigal Son, double bill. Released by Eureka. If you saw my Prodigal Son review, you know that is probably one of, if not my favourite kung fu movie of all time. But we're looking at the other film that come with this box set today, and that is Warriors 2. Lots to say about this Wing Chun classic, so we'll get right into it. You have to excuse me, I've got a mint in my mouth. We have Brian Leung Yun here, plays Leung Jan, our role that Yun Bu plays in Prodigal Son. Many argue that if you're someone like Wong Fei Hung, where Wong Fei Hung, the character is associated with the Hung Gar system. If you think like with Leung Jan, it's very much that character is synonymous with the Wing Chun system of fighting. Great performances from Brian Leung, otherwise known as Beardy. Sammo on fine form here. Casanova, Wong, Hoi-Sang, Dean Shek. Great set of villains along with Prodigal Son, widely considered to be two of the best kung fu movies of all time, and rightly so. I think these two films, it's wonderful to have them together on a Blu-ray double box, sort of collection here. And two of the best movies that I think were really renowned in showing that the authentic Wing Chun system. Though I remember when I first saw this, because I always thought the film was like a sequel, because where it's called Warriors 2, I assumed there was a Warriors 1, and obviously that's me just being silly. But the title refers to actually Leung Jan and Cashier Hua's character played by Casanova. You could even go as far as to say this is probably Sammo's first real masterpiece. I think that's fair to say, and I think with Warriors 2 it's almost too much of a good thing, if that's even acceptable to say. Excuse me. The fights come often, they come fast, the plot is menacing, the characters are over the top, it is never boring, and the whole film as a whole is just so entertaining. It is what you want in a kung fu movie. Though Sammo did make Enter the Fat Dragon between Iron Fisted Monk and this, and that is so crying out for a Blu-ray re-release, Enter the Fat Dragon. Yes, the plot can be seen as standard, but I absolutely love how the villains are so over the top and almost like a comic book. And if you look at the fights in this, like the fight scenes in this compared to sort of Iron Fisted Monk, they are worlds apart in terms of speed and sheer choreography. And like I said in my Iron Fisted Monk review, the leap that happened between Iron Fisted Monk and Warriors 2 is nothing short of groundbreaking. Like, the fact that Sammo went from that to this is just incredible. It's just absolutely incredible. In terms, worlds apart in terms of, like I say, the speed and the sheer choreography. Sammo's always taken a step to the side here, playing his faction, being sort of the comic relief, but still allowing himself, Sammo, to sort of show off and have some of the best fight scenes, and rightly so, as this was his movie. A lot of people thought Wing Chun was too close quarters to look good on camera and in film, but Sammo was ready to prove basically the naysayers wrong, to show that Wing Chun could actually be a very good artistic form for kung fu movies and action cinema. There is almost perfect balance of fight scenes, comedy, and without Sammo being too precious about the training and the style he used in the film. Sammo was never a purist with the styles he used. Basically, if it looks good on screen and on camera, then that's all well and good. As long as it looks good on camera, that's the main focus here. He wasn't so much like it's got to follow a strict set of sort of rules and boundaries. But this film and Prodigal Son really do show the classic Wing Chun style. Though many could argue Sammo at this stage was still learning his craft, but I mean, you could say he was still very much learning being a filmmaker, but boy oh boy was he learning fast. You know, boy was he picking up things really quick. Loads more radical angles in this movie, not just your standard shots, low angles, high angles, you name it. Top of this off with amazing editing, and Warriors 2 is nothing short of breathtaking. There's a reason why this film usually always gets 5 stars. So Casanova Wong here has changed Giver Hua, and our lead has much longer role than he had in Iron Fisted Monk, and although based on the Wing Chun system, he still has time to get the show off his kicking. Leung Jan is a respected man about town who practices the Wing Chun system. So we meet Sammo selling some rice dumplings at the beginning of the movie. That's how it opens up. These kung fu movies usually always open up in the marketplace. In the market, our villains Lee Hoi-Sang and Tiger Yang come into town and on horse looking for the tea house. Tiger Yang plays Fun to Time. When I was a kid and watched this trailer for this, I thought it was Wang Sik for some reason. I thought Tiger Yang's character, because when you look at his hair in this and how long it is, when he had, I thought he was like Wang is Sick from sort of Young Master, like when he had like long. You remember when Wang is Sick in Young Master when he's got long hair when he's being rescued by Wei Pei and Fung Hak-On and that. I thought this was the same guy when I was young for some unknown reason. So I thought it was Wang is Sick for some, but don't ask. Tiger Yang very much a kicker, and you also remember Tiger Yang. He was the guy who fights Tong Leung, Kim Tai Chung at the end of Game of Death 2, Tower of Death, as like the sort of the wild man with the leopard print. I don't know if any of you remember Game of Death 2. I have a comedy scene right away with Eric Sang and Peter Chan conning Sammo out of his rice dumplings. Though to be fair, Sammo wasn't able to get any buyers to begin with, so not sure why they suddenly think they will have some luck selling them, because Sammo's not selling any of these rice dumplings, and Eric Sang and Peter Chan are like, they con him out of his rice dumplings, and it's like, well, nobody's buying them. What are you hoping to do with this? Maybe they're just hungry, I don't know. Maybe they just think they'll have some luck. So we have Yun Bu and Lam Ching Ying and Mars, etc. all play Fun to Tai's henchmen who sit at like Leung Jan's table in this restaurant, and I love how when Sammo gets swindled, when he gets swindled, Casanova advises him to sell basically shit. So no one will eat it. So he won't eat it and no one will sell it. We meet Fung Hak-On as Boss Mock, who has used the money his evil gang has made to open a bank, and basically get to that stage where he's sort of respected about town. He's looked upon, people look at him fondly. He's respected and that kind of thing. He's used his money to set up a bank, and basically he wants to, like in Foshan, his whole scheme and his evil plan is he wants to control the town. That's Boss Mock's entire whole plan. Fung Hak-On again here as our main villain, our antagonist. One night after mistakenly having a bill in his pocket, Change Giver Hua returns to work and overhears his master's plan to become the mayor. He bumps into Dean Shek, who is the mayor's advisor, but he's actually on Boss Mock's side, and sets him up, telling him to meet him at the mausoleum. Casanova really getting to show off here against Boss Mock's men when he gets sort of set up. I mean, the kicking and the speed. I mean, the Casanova one was phenomenal. I mean, he gets to show off mildly in Duel to the Death. This film, though, he really does. This is, a fantastic kicker. He shows off a lot in Shaolin Plot as well at the end of the movie. But here we really do get to see some wide range of his kicks and what he can do. Kicking and the speed. So his character already sort of, his Change Giver Hua already sort of knows Kung Fu, right? He already is sort of okay, but he's no master or anything, but he already sort of knows Kung Fu. Realising he's getting beaten, not going to win, he escapes and goes to Fat Chun, Sammo's character, for help. So to lure him out, the villains kill his mum as well, right? He overhears their plan. They've tried to beat him up and kill him. Now they've gone and killed his mum to sort of lure him out, because they're not sure where he's hiding. He doesn't know this right away. His mum is dead. She's been murdered, but he doesn't know this. Tells Sammo to inform the mayor about what is happening. We have Liu Kao-Wang here as assistant to the mayor. And for some reason, I always forget Liu Kao-Wang is in this movie. Do not ask me why, because I think it's mainly because he only has one fight scene and then he's gone. But I always forget he's in this movie. Dean Shek's character, always the thin, weedy character that Dean could always play so well, like Snake in the Eagle's Shadow. When he fights Sammo, he's always getting cramp and things like that. Lots of horses and location in this movie too, which really does give the film some scope. Our villains ambush Wing and the mayor, though I don't think it's ever explained where they were going. Him and the mayor just are on horseback. They're venturing out, and they were just leaving town, but I'm not sure why the mayor would be leaving town. I'm not sure why, or if that is even ever explained. We had the four swordsmen take on Wing, and he cuts them down, and when he fights Lee Hoi-Sang, I believe he switches to monkey kung fu. I think Liu Kao-Wang is doing monkey, and there's so much fighting. Not only that, but much longer sequences as well, much longer takes in the fight scenes. But like I say, much wider angles. This compared to Iron Fisted Monk, very, very, like I say, in terms of what Sammo was doing and what he's learned and the way the fights are shot, very different, but very just much tighter, much better, wider angles, much longer sequences compared to Iron Fisted Monks. You see the mare fall at the start, you see them kill Wing, but you never actually see the mare die, though one can assume they did kill him as he doesn't return to town, and he sort of just disappeared, so it's safe to assume they sort of killed the mare as well. Dean Shek's character nominates Boss Mock as the new mayor because that's his whole plan, is to sort of gain control of Foshan, and as I say, just basically just so he can corrupt it and it can be his town. That's sort of his main driving force of what he's trying to do here. While finds out that his mum has been murdered, and Sammo stops him rushing in to get vengeance as he knows it's a trap. So has he's recuperating at Leung Jan's. Our villains think he is meddling in their affairs, so they have a grade, sort of a grudge against him now, because he's just staying there till he feels better. But they're sort of, no, look, you're interfering with our business. Why are you sheltering this guy? So they think he's sort of meddling in their affair. And I love it when he takes on Hoi-Sang and Thunder Time. Watch out for the one-inch punch he does, sending Hoi-Sang absolutely flying into a table that's behind him. Boss Mock intervenes, and due to hearing his thoughts, we know Leung Jan. He doesn't trust him anyway. He's no fool. He doesn't trust Boss Mock whatsoever. So Leung Jan won't teach War, as he says he only wants to learn Wing Chun in order to get vengeance. Sammo becomes his master and starts sort of teaching him wrong on purpose in order so that Leung Jan will intervene and say, look, what the hell are you doing? If you're going to teach him, I'm going to do it, right? So basically just to annoy Leung Jan and get him to teach Hua. I can't stress enough how good Leung Ka-yan is in this movie, in this role. For someone that had if any of you know or familiar with the guy, he had no formal training in Kung Fu. He wasn't a Kung Fu, quote-unquote, sort of guy. That wasn't his thing. He was very good though at mimicking, very sort of being told what to do and doing it right there. Yuen Wu-ping used him a lot, Sammo used him a lot. He does an amazing job here. So eventually he accepts Hua as his student, start to teach him like little ideas, as he calls it, not to have too much ambition, learns palm, shoulder and elbow, can all defend and attack. I always remember when he was trying to get him to catch the leaf, the scene, I think it was on like a Bruce Lee documentary or something, when they mentioned about Bruce Lee's sort of Wing Chun-esque type of background. I always remember that whenever any documentary I watched on Bruce Lee back in the day, it always seemed to always have a clip of Warriors 2 in it for some reason. Teaches him to block upper attacks with his hands and lower attacks with his legs, getting him used to the fundamentals of the Wing Chun system. What is amazing is after a very short training montage, he goes, I've taught you everything I know. I mean, it's a very short training montage, and he's like, you know everything, I know. I mean, talk about quick. We have Wooden Men Alley here, too, of course, that are so synonymous with, the Wing Chun system, having to beat these dummies back into position as they come at him. Have to have some comedy happening at the same time, too, with Sammo fighting Freehorn Beetle, played by Chin Yut Sang, blindfolded, and, of course, Sammo cheating, as Sammo always would. You have to inject as always, Sammo can't resist to inject a bit of comedy in there, and why not? It's always welcome. Also, I have Leung Jan teaching Casanova pole style and how to smash olive pits with this stick, and also don't take anything away from Casanova Wong here. I mean, he really does well as a lead and a protagonist, and it's a shame he didn't get more opportunities to shine in that leading man role, because he's more than capable. In Warriors 2, Sammo Hung obviously had a lot of, because I say he worked with him, Iron Fisted Monk here, Shaolin Plot. Sammo Hung obviously knew he was a talented guy, and I think Sammo choreographed the greenhouse fight that's in Game of Death, that's also Casanova Wong. So Sammo Hung was obviously quite impressed with his abilities and what he can do. And Casanova Wong is very much the reason what makes Warriors 2 so unique, because he does carry the film really well, and I think he's a great leading man here. Also should mention, go to the makeup and prosthetics used on Fung Hak-On to make him look older as Boss Mock, which I think don't look too bad at all. So we had the scene where Leung Jan gets ambushed as Fung wants him out of the way. He attempts to take on all of Fung Hak-On's men, basically. It's like 20 against 1, or at least it seems like it. Gets stabbed in the back. They use like a bear trap on him. He gets almost like a table smashed over his head for good measure as well. As like even a wine vessel, I think, gets smashed. So they basically annihilate Leung Jan in this film. Like, they really do. He stands no chance. They're chucking everything. As I say, there's bear traps and God knows what. Really amazing fight scene that really does show off Brian Leung's skills and how good he was. I mean, okay, the blood when his legs is like his leg is in the trap is a bit bright, but we can forgive that. But what a fantastic set piece it is, and what a fantastic little fantastic like big showpiece for the film. One versus the rest, it's fast, it's bloody, it's brutal, and the way Leung gets weaker and weaker, and we, the audience, begin to realise that our noble teacher, this noble guy, this respected guy, is not necessarily going to make it out of this alive. He's not actually necessarily going to make it out of this brawl. This isn't necessarily going to be one he's going to get away from. So they go to his clinic school, and it's a complete bloodbath. They go to his Wing Chun school. Sammo even rubbing his face in his friend's blood, so Sammo can pretend that he is dead as well. Not of these fights. I mean, none of these fights go on too long. Like every fight scene actually is the perfect length in this film. No fight scene outstays its welcome, but at the same time, no fight scene is too short to the point where it's like, oh, I wanted more of that. Like every fight scene that is in this movie, it's very much the perfect length. I think Sammo's got the balance just right. So Mop comes to the mayor, and Sammo, Hua, and Gan Fun attempt to take on one of the baddies each. Butterfly knives on the spear, sticky hands on Thunder Tai, and the pole on Manchu Fu. So Sammo goes to the wrong guy and takes on Tiger Hearts wielding his spear. Absolutely love how they just start fighting in the middle of the street, and look out for quite a big fall and stunt from Sammo that happens in this fight scene. He sort of goes over this sort of balcony. And he just there's a bit of what was going to become that sort of stunt-filled action scenes that we get in the later Sammo Hung and like the Jackie Chan films. I mean, what is great about this scene is that you actually fear for Sammo's character, and it's a fantastic fight scene. It really is a fantastic, the way it just builds, and he's getting beat, and he runs into like the forest, right, and it's dark, and so they can both be sort of at a disadvantage, and because of the trees he won't be able to use his spear properly. And it's a great fight scene because it's very eerie, this fight scene that happens, and with the wildlife you can hear there's no music, and it's great lighting. I love when Sammo keeps pulling him back and he keeps punching him, and it's the real sense of like, okay, Sammo is the comic relief, but his character Fat Chun he wants vengeance, right? He does want vengeance. But that scene in the forest when he's taken on with the spear and everything, and it's very eerie because, I say, you can just sort of hear the creatures around them, and there's nothing else, but there's no music, and it's a wonderful fight scene. So as Boss Moss plays, Casanova takes on Thunder Ties, both great kickers, but here Casanova is restricted mainly to the Wing Chun system because, I say, in real life they're both good practitioners of kicking styles and things like that. But here they have to sort of, where it's a Wing Chun movie, they have to stick to the Wing Chun system, though still does get to show off his kicks, of course. We have twin swordsmen that show up, one being Hoi-Sang from earlier on, as Free Horn beat earlier, Jewel Roll and Mang Hoi. They kill the female pupil, Gan Fung, but Sammo in a rage just kicks their ass with two swords. Have Hua smashing Fu Sweet with the staff, not to mention his balls as well, for good measure. Just make sure to smash his balls. Have Fung Hak-On here taking his mask off to show he is a young man, and using the mountain style, which he does so well to awesome effect at the end of the movie. And like I said in Iron Fisted Monk, it almost looks like the same set was used for this movie. So when he's doing the mountain style, they use wires, having like to overall zaniness of it, but Sammo doesn't go overboard with it. He does incorporate some wire work here and there, but it's nothing too much. It's nothing that takes away anything from the film. So I love Fung's look as well, with the black hair, the white face, the eye makeup, the red lips, and it's just so awesome. And he's just, again, Fung Hak-On is that kung fu villain. He is that guy. You want a kung fu villain, you get Fung Hak-On in, and you're going to be in good hands. Even Sam at one point saying this is one ferocious mantis, right, when they're fighting him. Watch out for Casanova's sort of semi-finishing kick that he does over the table. And they take out Boss Mock, and thus ends Warriors 2. But the movie, it just has everything. This film, it's great kung fu, it's wacky, it's zany, there's action, there's choreography, there's Wing Chun, there's cartoonish over-the-top villains, and the action, as I say, doesn't stop. There's constant action in this movie. It's not like Iron Fisted Monk, where sort of the fights, if you can call them fights in Iron Fisted Monk, where sort of not a lot really happens till the end. Here they come thick and fast, they happen often, they're all executed perfectly. Wonderful performances, a wonderful kung fu movie, and it is, like I mentioned earlier, I would go as far to say it is probably Sammo's first real, must-see, bona fide kung fu classic masterpiece. So check out Warriors 2. Thank you very much indeed for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review, and I'll see you again soon.
Don't concentrate on the finger or you will miss all that heavenly glory.